I'm Gus Downing, publisher and editor of the D&D Daily, and this is the LP News Network. We're here today with John Mattis, Vice President, Asset Protection, Investigations, Fraud, and ORC. Tarik, Sheppard, Lieutenant at NYPD, the Executive Director of MetrORCA. TJ Flynn, the President and Co-Founder of the MetrORCA. And Jim Cosseboom, LPC, Manager Investigations and Corporate Asset Protection for Ahold USA. While New York City may have been one of the last major cities to develop an organized retail crime association, it's now outpacing Los Angeles in becoming the organized retail crime capital in the country. With that, I want to ask two of the co-founders, Tarik Sheppard and TJ Flynn, how they've developed it to such a point that we're now hearing that from numerous experts. Gentlemen?
Thanks, Gus.
Yeah, so I'll take this one first, Gus. So it's very unique to get that title, I guess.
Oh yeah.
I don't necessarily think that that we're victimized more than others.
Right.
I think that it's the partnership piece that we've pushed over the years. I think that we've got very accurate reporting that I think we can still continue to build on. I believe that the retailers and the law enforcement agencies in this area, they take organized retail crime and theft and everything else that can be lumped into that very seriously, and they want to work to mitigate that risk.
Right.
And I think we're doing an excellent job, but we can't do it alone. It's all the members and all the hard work, so I give thanks and recognition to everybody that's actively in that site every day contributing.
Mm-hmm. And you had your first conference in this past year, correct?
Absolutely. We had our first conference, and it was at the NYPD Academy. It was attended by about 450 people. I thought it went really well. I thought the topics were on point. It was great. And as we look forward to doing it again, we're just trying to see, do we want to change anything?
Right.
We want to do something in a physical space, but we also are thinking about maybe streaming it so that way more people have access to see what we're talking about, who can't make it. And because really the issues for us are awareness, education. That's a big piece of what we're doing. And so the more people that can get eyes on it, the better for us.
Mm-hmm. You know, John, you've been involved in it as well. Can you give us some insight as to your observations and involvement, and just how is it going in the New York area, the Metro New York one, for right now?
I can tell you that the MetrORCA has just been a big support to not only just the retailers in the New York metro area, but our company as well. The level of professionalism and the level of follow-up by the group is just outstanding. And when you combine that with just a lot of folks that want to come in and be able to give their point of view on things, share investigative information, some intelligence stuff, and then have a group that will latch on to sort of what they're talking about and be able to build cases is a big thing for us. We constantly tell our group that when you look at ORC, 80% of ORC is all about networking. You can't do it on your own, so your ability to network is going to be your ability. It's going to either make or break you. So, having MetrORCA on our side has just been a big booster for us.
Yeah, Jim, how about Ahold?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. They say New York is maybe increasing in ORC. The study shows, I think it's more being reported, a lot more work being done, and I think it gives the credit to MetrORCA because it's, from our group, it's a huge resource using on cases, and it's a long time coming, but every year I keep seeing more and more that more cases that we're getting that we reach out to other retailers through MetrORCA, and it becomes a much more significant case and better end results through that cooperation.
How many members do you have, TJ?
Roughly 5,000.
5,000?
Yep.
That has just skyrocketed.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's success through partnership, right? The more people hear about it, the two stories here from these gentlemen, it works. Getting everybody connected, getting them working together, and knowing a face before you enter into a problem that you're trying to solve. So you already know who to go to, and they know who to come to. If we look at it from a retailer or a law enforcement standpoint, both sides are working together, and they know who the go-to people are in the industries and at the companies. And that's really what's driving the success.
Right, certainly. And they're sharing the data and centralizing it for you so that all of you can benefit from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
including the law enforcement side.
Absolutely, and we want to see that increase because that is That's the nucleus. That is absolutely what we all need. We need the intel. And so for those retailers or investigators out there who don't have the ability to share now, we would like them to go back into their legal departments and to their companies and just say, hey, this is something that we need to do. We'll work with you to find ways to get it out there, so that way maybe you're not responsible for the information. We'll take, the law enforcement groups can take, can put it out there as opposed to, you worrying about liability. But the intel is still important.
So, gentlemen, what are the hot buttons? What's really driving it, down at the street level in the New York metro area? What's driving the ORC? What are you seeing out there insofar as trends are concerned, just from a black and white standpoint, so to speak?
It's I know we're seeing more. The boosters coming out hitting us are actually growing in scale of how hard they're hitting us, and we're not only seeing more of them, but they're more significant with what they're hitting us. And then, so it's obviously feeding up to larger scale fencing operations, and so putting more focus on trying to identify where those are. But again, working with the other retailers, we're having more successes and sharing the same people that are hitting all of us, and being able to have a better fighting chance with law enforcement to get to that next level up.
TJ, trends?
Yeah, I believe, though it may not be captured, but I believe that the cyber trend is out there, the threat of cyber, as it relates to this organized retail crime world. And what do I mean by that? The card not present, obviously. We see in the industry more fraud going to the e-commerce and the .com or the apps that the different retailers are utilizing, for their customers to be able to make purchases. Well, the bad guys can take advantage of that as well. And we've made it easy for them to do some of these things, pick up and buy online, pick up at the store, or have it shipped to somebody else's address. You can designate a person. So if you're a fraudster and you're comfortable already in that space, because that's the space you operate in, that anonymity, you can then take advantage of these new e-commerce platforms. So I continue to see that as the emerging risk for the retailers.
Tarik?
Gangs, younger people involved. Communicating using apps, PlayStation Network, Facebook, Instagram, but using it for nefarious purposes, so making it much tougher to investigate. But ultimately, that is our problem. These are people who are involved in violence at night and retail crime in the day.
In the day, yeah. And credit card fraud.
Well, fraud, is
it true that it's less, punishment getting caught doing that versus dealing opioids or drugs or whatever? I mean, is that really true, or is that just something the media is just kind of,
That is absolutely true. We see the most recidivist type behavior with these type of crimes because the prosecutions are not ending up with long sentences for the right individuals.
Right.
Very tough to investigate some of these crimes when you have a complainant that may live in another state somewhere. When it comes to fraud, you're talking about much younger offenders now, and so sometimes prosecutors or even the victims themselves, whether it be a store or an individual, you almost feel bad for a kid who's 16 involved in this stuff. You still are a kid, but the reality is many of these kids are involved in violent crime with these gangs, and now they're out doing this stuff. So you have to connect all of that intel, and that's what makes an organization like MetrORCA important, and all the other orcas around the country important, in that we have to support these kind of partnerships, because this is the only way to educate and make judges, prosecutors aware of what's really happening at the street level.
Is there any illegal immigration play here? I mean, with the gangs and such, is that a factor?
I can't say it's not, but I tell you, in New York City, I'm not seeing any difference in criminals being illegal immigrants than somewhere else. I know Long Island has had its fair share of issues with MS-13 and things like that, but in New York City, it's pretty evenly spread out.
John?
I can tell you that it's really complex and sophisticated frauds that we're dealing with. And when you look at it from an overall retail perspective, like TJ said, the more efficiencies that we create for our customers to buy merchandise is definitely capitalized on by the bad guys. So an organized group, one that runs at a very high technical level, is number one, is difficult to detect at first, and the level of complexity and detail required to investigate and then prosecute, very, very time consuming. It's one of our biggest issues.
So the internet and such and technology is allowing them to sophisticate,
Yes.
which then has a direct bearing on kind of the old definition of ORC, does it not?
Yes.
I mean, if I were to ask you for a definition of ORC, what would it be, Jim?
I would say any, more than just the product theft, any, I think, organized effort to defraud retailers really is a real broad sense, whether it's involving gift cards, taking care of online fraud. It's really broadening. It's
Evolving, like so, as is everything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. TJ, you agree with that?
You know, I play devil's advocate on this, and the reason why I do is I believe that the definition, though we can have an ambiguous one for the sector, I think the definition really lies with the retailer. I think that the retailer needs to do their homework. I think that they need to analyze their risk, and I think that they need to decide what does organized retail crime look like for our company. And then once you know what that threat looks like and who those threat actors are, then you can start to plan around mitigating it. And I say mitigation, but really what we want to say is taking people out, right?
So flexibility.
Absolutely.
Okay. Tarik?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. It's an organized effort, period. I don't separate whether it be cargo theft, whether it be fraud, whether it be at a big box store doing, in person. It doesn't matter. For an investigator, it's an organized effort by, a few people causing the most impact out there.
Right.
And so that's what it means to me.
And that's what you're saying as well, John, right?
Right. Any organized conspiratorial criminal attack on the retail establishment. Make it broad because it affects so many different areas. So it is straight thefts, it's sophisticated frauds, but then it's also the other things like impact to your brand, overall types of cyber crimes, cyber breaches, denials of service, malware, are all attacks on retail. And what are they for? They're trying to get confidential information, customer identities, and that just leads to other types of crimes. So it needs to be broad. It needs to be broad so we can apply it across the board.
Gentlemen, thanks for being here today. And I want to congratulate all of you on the success and obviously what Joe LaRocca said in his post on LinkedIn from the standpoint of the Capitol. I think he meant that from a very positive growth perspective, that everybody's joining and it's rapid and it's been fantastic. So congratulations to all of you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
So
guys.
thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
well, that's it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to thank you for watching. And until next time, let's keep them all safe out there.